The question reads, as presented in the passage, the conclusion that lignin is present in this algae can best be described as something. So to solve this question here, we should first know sort of what category this question is in. So it starts by saying as presented in the passage. And one of the the category I put this in is, in general terms, I would just say it's like the according to passage type questions, which basically means these are the types of questions that you really need to go back and identify a specific single sentence within the passage to help you answer it. So normally it'll say according to the passage or in the passage, and here it says as presented in the passage. So the first thing we need to do is look for a specific text that will tell us about the conclusion that lignin is present in this. And what am I going to call this thing? I'm going to call it this. I'm going to call it this algae. So what we can do is sort of use the question order rule to help us locate at least the general area where the sentence is likely to be to make solving it faster. And we can do that by noting that 43 is right here. That's the first question out of the gate. And 44 is the next question. So probably earlier in the passage, we're more likely to find our text for this question. This doesn't reference anything. These have these lines here, but that stretches all the way to 61, so that's not helpful. But 48, even though it's a few questions later, is still only referencing lines 32. So it's more than likely to be before lines 32 and probably even earlier than that because of the distance between this question and this question. So what we should do is go back to the passage, and we're basically just looking for this conclusion that lignin is present in this algae. So we start up here sort of just generally discussing what lignin is and how it functions, some of the original thoughts. Then it says a university, a British Columbia botanist, and some highly specialized chemists, they have strong evidence for lignin in a red algae called this right here. Then it goes on to say this finding suggests, etc. So I really think it's going to be this sentence here that talks about the conclusion that lignin is present. And it may be another sentence, but I think that this sentence right here, it fits all the criteria we're looking for. It's earlier in the text. It's very specific about the findings and the conclusion that it's present in this algae, so we should keep it. And all it really says, it doesn't really say too much. It says that we have strong evidence for lignin in a red algae. So maybe an answer choice that would reference that, refer to that, could be our correct answer. And if not, then maybe we need to look for another sentence or text or kind of rethink our approach. But let's see. So answer choice A for 44 says that the conclusion that lignin is present in this algae was theorized previously within the larger scientific community. And the text doesn't really say this, and actually the passage sort of says the opposite, right? It says that basically presents this as a new finding that before we didn't understand, we didn't find this in a red algae. This was only considered to be on plants that were outside of the water on the shore. So because this is presenting sort of a new finding, we shouldn't choose answer choice A, which says that it was theorized within the larger scientific community in the past. Then B says it was founded on empirical evidence and thus persuasive. This part here, founded on empirical evidence, makes sense and matches what we already found, right? These researchers have strong evidence, so that's empirical evidence. And the thus persuasive part is something that sticks out to me that maybe I would want to find a little more evidence on just to feel more comfortable. But we can come back and look at this question or look at this answer choice later, so let's keep it for now. C says that the conclusion that it was present is certain to disprove most earlier theories of algal evolution. And this is something that a lot of students might answer. They might choose this answer because the way it suggests, what's suggested about this finding is that the roots stretch far deeper and maybe wider through evolutionary time than was known. So they do present this finding as significant because it's sort of changing or uprooting some of the earlier ideas about the evolution or about the evolutionary history of certain kinds of plants. But this right here, certain to disprove, should strike us as a pretty strong and pretty significant claim. And so we would need equally strong evidence to support it. And all it really says is that it's going to change some of our ideas about the evolutionary timeline, but not necessarily going to disprove earlier theories about the evolution. That sort of suggests that there are these theories, which aren't presented in the passage, and then it's not really saying that they're going to disprove or completely disrupt everything. So for that reason, I would get rid of answer choice C as well. Then we have answer choice D, which says that the conclusion is supported by an abundance of conjectural report. So right here, supported by an abundance, so far so good. But then this part here, conjectural reports. Conjectural report is essentially word of mouth. It's basically so and so saw this, so and so saw this, and they think it's this, right? They looked and they saw, algae acting in this certain kind of way, and a number of scientists saw it, and they're basically saying we're going to make the conjecture or make the guess that it has lignin in it just the way it's operating, but we didn't look too closely at it. So this is not the way that it's presented. The way that it's presented is that we have strong evidence, right? And these are chemists who are looking closely at the algae, and they have strong evidence for it. Not a conjectural report, which is less strong, a little less scientifically conclusive. So D is going to be wrong as well, which leaves us with answer choice B. And so even though this part here is thus persuasive, I don't really find a specific part in the text that's going to say it's persuasive, but the implication is very easy. Basically, it's a very small guess to make that if you have strong empirical evidence, then it's going to be persuasive. And the scientists themselves are ultimately persuasive, and moreover, A, C, and D aren't really good answer choices, so we can eliminate those and end up answer choice B for question 44.